And I welcome Professor Rajiv Malhotra, Professor Sandeep, Professor Sudarshan, very gracefully accepted to join Prestige program. And today, Dean Sudarshan is going to speak on JSGP provides mastery over much more than economics alone. And I am privileged to give his introduction. Professor Ramaswamy Sudarshan has had distinguished careers in the domains of research, development programming, and governance. After he obtained a master's degree in economics from the Delhi School of Economics, he was elected to a Rhodes Scholarship. He joined Balliol College, University of Oxford, and obtained a master's degree in politics in 1977. He was elected to a research fellowship at St. John's College, University of Cambridge, where he studied judicial review of economic legislation by the Supreme Court of India, specializing in the interface of law economics. In 1983, he was a visiting scholar in the School of International Development, University of East Anglia. In 1984, he served in the Ford Foundation in the South Asia office in New Delhi as assistant representative and program officer for human rights and social justice. In 1991, he joined the UNDP in India as senior economist and assistant representative for governance and public policy. In 2000, he served UNDP in Jakarta as its senior governance advisor. In 2002, he was appointed policy advisor for justice and governance in the UNDP Oslo Governance Center. In 2005, he was transferred to the UNDP Asia Pacific Center in Bangkok, where he was regional policy advisor for governance, human rights, rule of law, justice, and legal reforms. In 2012, he joined the O.P. Jindal Global University as the founding dean of the Jindal School of Government and Public Policy. He has an impressive track record of publication comprising books, articles, and UN policy reports, reflecting his interdisciplinary research, teaching, and policy experience in development programs, human development, law, governance, and institutional and policy. And I would request Dean Sudarshan to address the student and please answer their queries. Welcome, sir. Please.
Thank you very much, Hemant. You probably know the students, you talk to them. So thank you for introducing me. I haven't had the occasion to interact with them as yet. Rajiv may have done so, interviewing some of them. I wanted to just give an overview of why it is very special that this particular batch is very special, because they are the first batch joining our Master of Arts Economics program. And the program itself is very special because it's located in a school of government and public policy. So it's not a conventional department of economics in the way in which most universities structure social science disciplines and their learning. And that's because our university is from the outset committed to interdisciplinary learning. That is, not to have all these silos between disciplines that give a narrow perspective on issues. So our aim really is that all programs must have a substantial interdisciplinary content, which is why I sort of titled this little presentation as Learning Much More Than Economics Alone. It's also a very practical and results-oriented course, but it is nonetheless a master degree in economics. And so we are mindful that the students who join this ought to be on par with the best master's students anywhere in the world in the discipline. So it's a unique program in the sense that it tries to combine both an academic rigor and a solid theoretical foundation in the discipline of economics, but at the same time enable the students who graduate to take up careers and opportunities where they would be expected to apply their knowledge to real world issues. Now it's in the application part that it's necessary to draw insights from other disciplines besides economics, because all policy making involves human beings and understanding human behavior. And so besides an in-depth knowledge in economics, we would like all our graduates to have a range and a breadth of grasp of the other social sciences that are pertinent to understanding how human beings behave in society and what we might be able to do to improve our lot, and to be responsible towards the planet and towards the environment and all of those concerns that dominate. So it's really a combination of both. So some of the students listening in may actually love the discipline of economics, may want to teach it, may want to do research in it, may want to do a doctoral program, may want to publish articles in top-rated economic journals, and the training that we will give will enable them to do that if they wish to do that. But if they wish to go out into the real world and work in the corporate sector or work in government, Rajiv Malhotra has long served the government as an economics and policy advisor, and it's that kind of opportunity is valuable. It's important that we enable our students to also be able to acquit themselves well in government and in corporations and in research think tanks doing policy related work. So it's that's why it makes it a bit difficult to draw up a curriculum that serves both these objectives, the objective of an in-depth knowledge in economics and also the objective of getting an adequate range or breadth and a grasp of other disciplines that are essential because modern day problems can't be handled with insights and knowledge from one discipline alone. There is a field of economics which people call complexity economics, which in a way it's a recognition on the part of the discipline that we need to have insights from a number of fields and not even limited to social science. Complexity economics is inspired to a great extent by quantum physics, by Heisenberg's principle of uncertainty, and these very fundamental conceptual ideas can illuminate and inform theory. So one of the wonderful things about economics as a discipline and as the way it's evolved is it's continually adapted to change and to the needs of society as we progress. And as societies have become more complex, as technology has made our societies very complex, there's going to be a whole range of tasks that human beings now do that could be easily taken over by artificial intelligence. Which means that it's not simply some robotic activity. It means these are thinking machines that by just as you train a computer to play chess, you can train artificial intelligence devices in the Internet of Things to be able to make decisions of a kind that most of the routine jobs in the world have. So if you were to, I did studied a fair amount of constitutional law and read cases for many years. Now, most lawyers draw up agreements knowing what the law is for their clients. This could be done by artificial intelligence. So there's a whole lot of occupations that are going to disappear, that are going to change, and a whole lot of new challenges that will come up, which will need human ingenuity and human judgment. So artificial intelligence can't replace the human mind. and human intelligence. It's of a completely different order, but we need to prime our training and our minds for a world where artificial intelligence would become quite commonplace as mobile phones have now become. And therefore, one needs to be very nimble and adaptable. And this discipline of economics is particularly admirable in that respect. It's evolved. The pedagogy of economics has evolved. And in our faculty, in our school, we have people who've more recently done their doctorates and others who publish. And because they are doing a lot of research themselves, they keep up to date with advances in the discipline. So unfortunately, in many of our conventional universities, the syllabus in economics is somewhat ossified. It hasn't changed in a long time, and there's enormous load on faculty to do teaching, with the result that they find very little time to read and to undertake research themselves. Whereas we, being a research-oriented university, encourage and do give a lot of time to our faculty to be able to do research. Now, what that means is that they are abreast with what is being done in the discipline the world over, whether it is in the Hebrew University in Jerusalem or at Harvard in Cambridge, Massachusetts, any place you name it, where there are top-notch thinkers making advances in the discipline. Our faculty are aware of it and know about it and will be able to transmit that knowledge to you. So this is the big advantage of joining an economics program in the General School of Government and Public Policy in preference to going anywhere else. Of course, you'd always be able to learn the discipline in any institution, but these are some of the special features that I want to underline, and they are there for the way the institution is structured, its commitment to interdisciplinarity, the fact that it's a research-oriented university, that faculty have a lot of time to take up research. And what that also means is that apart from listening into lectures and learning the subject and doing assignments in it and so forth, you are getting an opportunity to work with faculty on some of their research projects. And therefore, you get a hands-on and a very early exposure to how to do research. And we place a lot of emphasis in research methods in the course. There's quantitative research methods, qualitative research methods, and advanced econometrics. And all of this is really to provide a more rounded education, apart from other disciplines, as I mentioned, within economics itself. People can get to be very narrow. When I studied economics in the Delhi School of Economics, a number of my colleagues opted to do 6 papers in econometrics only. So they'd be, of course, top-notch econometricians and be able to apply econometric tools to various kinds of data. But nonetheless, if you are concentrating entirely on econometrics within the discipline of economics, you are likely to lose out, lose out some very important understanding of, say, the Indian economy. When I studied in the Delhi School of Economics, there was very little attention paid to either development economics or to the Indian economy in particular. There was one paper on Indian economy, but other than that, there was no opportunity for the student to be required to say, okay, the National Sample Survey has just published its latest round of data and statistics, and so what use could we make of it? What inferences can we draw from it? How to use that data? So we would like to place emphasis on that. We'd also like to place emphasis on what is now called data analytics. Some people have said that data is the new oil, as if to say it's a very It's the most precious thing in a way, most lucrative for businesses, because all of our Facebook and Google and Twitter, all of these large profitable corporations are really mining data and converting data and the ability to analyze data into profits by getting a huge involvement of people, and therefore that is also what enables the rapid progress with artificial intelligence, because it somehow maps what people do for the most part. But the important thing to remember is that there's a lot of predictability in human beings, and that's why we could have artificial intelligence do many of the things that people do. But there's also an element, an indelible element of unpredictability in human behavior and in human beings. In fact, that is tantamount to a sense of freedom. If we didn't have that element of unpredictability, we would be no different from robots or an artificial intelligence machine. We are different because we are self-interpreting agents. If some economist produces a theory about how we would behave, and we look up that theory or we read that theory, that in itself will influence our behavior, and it's very difficult to predict in what way it would influence the behavior. It could be that we make it a self-fulfilling prophecy, whatever has been said, there's such a thing as herd instinct, people rushing to do the same thing, or people may want to be contrarians, may want to be different just for the heck of it. And if a good number of people want to be different and contrarians just for the heck of it, they will contaminate the data on the basis of which you are formulating some predictions. So I'd say that understanding when economics is valuable and how it should be used, and when it should not be used, and when you mustn't place too much reliance upon it, and to have a certain humility, is something that's very important, and you will learn in this course. The art of making that kind of judgment, because if you blindly believed that you have grasped a discipline and therefore you can go off and make predictions and statements, you are likely to come wrong. And so this explains why economists were not able to say that the international financial system would take the knock that it did in 2008, or to anticipate the Great Depression earlier, or in fact now to know what to do about the pandemic. Because the pandemic has put in question a number of assumptions, or what you might call orthodox beliefs, that are in the discipline. The way the discipline has evolved, you had a period of what you might call classical political economy. Adam Smith was interested in moral philosophy. He was interested in politics. He was interested in statecraft. He was interested in law. And he's also someone who's credited with a very valuable insight as to how markets will work, and how there's an idea of markets clearing, and there's a notion of equilibrium. We had contributions from Karl Marx about societies, about capitalism, and what happens with capitalism, and how labor adds to production, and what is surplus value. In a sense, you had Alfred Marshall with a great insight about the importance of the margin, that the last bit that you produce or the last bit that you consume is very important. There's such a thing as diminishing marginal utility, which you've done, if you've done economics earlier, you would know that. And this is how the disciplines evolved. So the discipline evolved from a broad canvas, and then over the years it became more and more narrow. And then you had a big turning point in the discipline when the world was faced with this great recession called the Great Depression. And we found in enormously insightful thinker and economist John Maynard Keynes the proposal to recover these economies from the depths of depression, the general theory of employment, interest and money that Keynes wrote, and the emphasis on fiscal policy, macroeconomics became very prominent. But then in the 70s, we went through a phase, the world went through a phase where a phenomenon that Keynes had not quite anticipated began to take over, which is rising unemployment and also increasing inflation. And this has been labeled stagflation. And when that happened, people began to pay more attention to, because inflation has very deleterious consequences on the economy and especially on the poor. And it's a very serious problem. And if you have both unemployment and inflation, you really have a serious problem. So that's when we got more prominence given to monetary policy, arguments being made for why the central bank of the should have autonomy and independence to be able to control money supply and the interest rates and not let political decisions affect that. Because in all democratic polities, invariably, the party or the ruling power will want to do things that increase the chances of them being re-elected. And so they may be unwilling to take some hard decisions because it may make them unpopular with an electorate. And therefore, a case was made for an autonomy given to an institution that controls something as crucial as money in society. But now with the pandemic, this orthodoxy of monetarist economics and the general assumption that, you must leave more things to the market and government must limit itself only in a few special cases to interfere and correct market distortions and make up for market failures, which will happen, say, if you want to produce an increasing amount of public goods, you can't rely on the market to do that. Therefore, a limited role for the state and government and a very large role for the market and minimal regulation of the market became the orthodoxy. And the minimal regulation of the market, in a way, was responsible for the financial crisis because there was no check on the extent to which greedy firms wanted to make more and more money by, or profits rather, by using debentures and to provide a layer of insurance upon insurance to what is originally, in fact, a bad loan. And therefore, now the pandemic is in a situation where we have a problem on the supply side, we have a problem on the demand side. We would expect that when supply chains are broken, there's a serious limitation on goods being produced, that there would be a tendency for prices to rise. That expectation is belied. The expectation is that the inflation would be low. So a lot of it in economics turns upon people's expectations as well. And then we understand that even conservative governments that were committed to this kind of monetarist policy, say the United States and the Federal Reserve in the United States, are now saying we need to stimulate the economy, we need to increase demand, we need to increase public debt as a proportion of GDP and try and put money in the pockets of people so that the conventional or the traditional Keynesian multiplier effect would come into force. And so you now have a situation where there's a supply side crisis, there's a demand side crisis, this old belief in, let's have the Reserve Bank control monetary policy and, the role of fiscal policy, as well as the role of government in general, should be minimal, has gone out of the window. We now understand that there's an enormous need for the government to come in and boost public health facilities all over the world. And now, as if it was 1948, countries are now wishing, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we had something like the National Health Service, which was instituted in the United Kingdom and influenced greatly by the thinking of John Maynard Keynes, at least for these merit goods like health and education, we see a very large role for the state. The assumption that that the minimum government is a wrong assumption. In fact, if you look at the needs, if you took all those public teachers in universities and in schools, the police service, the medical service, who are employed by the government, and looked at it in relationship to our population and our population's needs, our government is actually very small. And therefore, this orthodoxy shoved down the throats of some of the economies that have had to turn to the IMF and the World Bank for assistance to deal with macroeconomic problems, balance of payments crises, and so on. That kind of policy prescriptions saying, minimize the size of government, let government not do this and that, and so on, is now being questioned, because we need government to do much more, particularly in respect of combating the causes of climate change, to ensure that human capabilities are advanced and developed, and so on. Now, paradoxically, we have a situation where, say, a country like China, which has, politically an authoritarian system, nonetheless made a great deal of investment in human beings in terms of literacy and basic healthcare in the communist years. And now that it's turned to a more market-oriented economy, although they like to call it Chinese socialism in a way, with Chinese characteristics, if you like, what they are now doing is enhancing human capabilities by making huge investments in universities. So a lot of investment was already done in primary healthcare and in education. Now a great deal of investment in China is being made in universities at a time when many other countries are saying, no, let there be more and more private universities. That's the way to go. So these are kinds of current issues. I'm just giving you a flavor of why the discipline of economics needs to be dynamic and to be continually aware of what's going on around, and how we must bring all of these discussions in our day-to-day learning in the class. So I'll stop there and invite my colleague Rajiv Malhotra to say a few words, and then we'll have a ground of questions and answers and a discussion, a dialogue really, rather than a sort of a, you ask the question, I'll answer. You should be willing to share your views, your perceptions, and let's have a dialogue. Over to you, Rajiv.
Thank you, Sudarshan, and thank you for a very fascinating introduction overview to our new program. Let me first start by welcoming all the students. I, unlike the rest of the faculty, has had the opportunity to interact with each one of them over the last few weeks. And I'm really happy to have you people with us today. Indeed, there are several of the faculty members who would be teaching this program also listening into this conversation, and they would be coming and talking to you in the coming days. I, for one, would be also speaking to you on the coming Monday. So I don't want to take too much of time right now, but I just want to kind of highlight one facet which Dean Sudarshan did touch on in his introductory remarks, and that is, as an institution such as ours gets down to framing a new program, there's always a dilemma how to really pitch it. Where do we pitch it? And I feel very pleased in kind of sharing with you that with the in-house deliberations, we have been able to put together a curriculum for you, a program for you, which I think would meet the expectations that some of you have very explicitly shared with me during the course of our conversation when I was interviewing you. So in fact, I look at the MA program as a real stepping stone into the profession of economics, practicing economics. And we have made efforts to ensure that as you get into this program and as you work your way through this program, you have sufficient understanding, the conceptual and the applied both, to then chart your own course as economists in the coming years. I would be speaking very soon on what ails this discipline. What is it that is the state of economics as of now, and how that has a bearing on teaching of the subject, on the practice and the policy making aspect of the subject. So this is something that I would discuss with you on Monday, on the coming Monday. Meanwhile, I would like to just highlight one thing that some of you did mention in our conversation, that what are the kind of choices you would have in picking up your subjects? What is it that you need to, how much you need to focus on mathematics, and how important it is in the discipline, for the discipline of economics. And I did try clarifying some of these questions when we spoke. Well, mathematics, unfortunately, is an important language in economics. It is not important for itself, but as a language, it serves a purpose, and you need to be reasonably on top of it. So that's why I was encouraging some of you to prepare yourself a little and refresh some of your concepts so that you can be up to speed as we start rolling out our program. I also want to kind of highlight one other thing which perhaps I didn't mention. You see, when Keynes and Sudarshan made a reference to Keynes' general theory of employment, interest, and money, when Keynes was writing that book, he had a challenge. He had to first set up what was the understanding of a classical economist. There were several people, and you heard several of those names from Dean Sudarshan. But he wanted to give a shape to what the classical school of thought was. It was only after he had kind of articulated that he started working on his theory, which in a sense, at that time, turned some of the known concepts and theoretical propositions in the discipline on their head. So why I wanted to narrate this particular story, a little story to you, was that you must know the fundamentals, and you must know also that aspect of your subject, this discipline that you have chosen to study well, before you actually branch out into the stream that you want to pursue and want to specialize in. And with that, let me just stop here, because I'm eating into the time that we would like to have you use for seeking further information, clarifications, questions from some of us who are here. And let me hand you back to Dean or to Hemant. I think Hemant had raised his hands in between, but the floor is open for questions, and we would be happy to respond to your queries.
Thank you, Raji. Yeah, thank you. So we've got our students all silenced.
So we can start.
You are all welcome to ask questions. Please unmute, raise your hand, unmute, make yourself visible, and shoot.
We can ask.
Yeah, Fani Datta.
Fani Datta.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, let's see you.
Hello everyone. Yes,
Very
sir.
good.
Can you see me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So where are you presently?
I am in Visakhapatnam, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Sir, I had a few questions on the aspects of resources that will be available. Like, since we are all, for the first few months at least, we're going to have online classes. And we are not going to have an access to a physical library. I wanted to ask, like, will we have access to, let's say, journals, books, and newspapers, and so on? Will the college be able to give us that? And also regarding the like recordings of classes that are, will we be having access to that, so that if in case, so here I have my internet is not that great here, so at any point my internet can go, and I may have to, like, I may miss the class. So will I have access to recordings so that I can later go and revisit it?
Yeah, well, I quickly answer that. We learnt a lot when suddenly we were forced to send students home and we had to complete the semester online. So in the process, we learnt a lot. Our library has beefed up its access modalities to journal articles, and any article that you need to read, you can be directly download it through your university ID and the library. So library resources, can be transmitted. In fact, I don't step in physically to the library or pick up a book there. I ask for the articles that I want, and I can download them myself and read them. So the library is beefed up. For faculty, in when you teach economics, you need to be able to, normally we would, write equations on the board, draw diagrams, and so on to explain points. Now we are acquiring another gadget alongside our usual, this team that we would use, Microsoft team. But complementing it, we have indented for, and we'll soon all of us get it, a device that is manufactured by Lenovo, which allows you, the faculty, to be able to, make diagrams or equations and so on. And all of this is being recorded, right? So there is an electronic memory that keeps this, and in that sense, it's a bit of a state of the art. Now, some people may worry that this is a Lenovo product entirely manufactured in China, but we are not concerned about that. It's a useful product. We need it for online teaching, whether it comes from China or Timbuktu, doesn't matter to us. And so we are doing our best. So we hope that the online learning experience would be good, but we also want you here. I mean, so we are just waiting for, for at least people to overcome a sense of fear. This pandemic has been around now. I think, like, human beings have this tendency to adapt to whatever that's around for long enough, and to look for other excitements. And so there would come a point where we say, okay, there will be a vaccine eventually, but as long as there is not a furious increase in the number of cases, we can return to normal life, so-called, as far as possible. So that's why we haven't said that, we will be teaching the entire semester online, but certainly we'll start teaching the semester online, and expect you on campus as soon as possible.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would also like to add here that all these recordings are available with MS Teams. The links are generated, and which the students can use later on when they want to revise or they want to use it for their further studies. All these recordings are available.
Good.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next, we can use Simran. Please unmute yourself and raise your question.
Good morning, sir. So basically my question was regarding what Rajiv sir mentioned, that we should brush up on our topics. So I wanted to know which all are like, should we like brush up on all the topics, or are there some specific topics relevant to the course of this semester that we should focus on more?
Rajiv.
Yes, so let me take that question. In the first semester, you're going to study the usual subjects, courses such as macroeconomics, micro, and you'll be doing some course on statistics. So I would think that you would need to brush up some of the fundamentals, some of the concepts that you've learned in your undergrad in these areas. Most importantly, I think some of you, since you mentioned in your conversation with me about your concerns on mathematics, I would encourage that focus on that initially, and the rest of the concepts would come back to you once your faculty teachers, once your teachers begin those lectures on those topics in the class. So focus on mathematics, focus on revising your statistical concepts. That will bring you up to speed already in doing well in your initial few courses at the university.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Anybody else?
And I just wanted to add that I had mentioned to some of you, though we don't have a specially prepared kind of review package for mathematics and statistics for the M.A. students, but we have done one for the B.A. program. And we are happy to share some of the material that has been done for them so that you can revise some of that stuff, which most of you would have done in your BA programs, but it'll just help you feel a little more comfortable as you step into the classrooms, the virtual classrooms as of 1st of September. So in case you are interested, please, or rather, I would say that I will request our academic coordinator, Ms. Manimala, to share that material with those of you who would like to have a look at it.
Sure, sir.
All right. So listen, you are only 10 of you. So each of you unmute and tell us, if possible, let us see you and then tell us where you are so that we kind of get to know you in the next few minutes. We don't want to task your mind necessarily, but we'd like to see you and have a word with you. So why don't you go one by one?
Lakshya Singh, unmute yourself and switch on your video also.
Good morning, faculty. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, Lakshya.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Where
you are.
Currently, I'm in Ghaziabad with my parents.
In which place?
Ghaziabad.
Ghaziabad. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Have you seen the campus of the Global University?
Sir, the virtual one, Hemant sir sent me a YouTube link and I checked that.
Ah, okay. But you haven't, visited. Yeah.
So what are you looking for at the campus as you enter the university? What is your expectations and what are you looking for?
Looking for my classmates.
All right. Okay. So shall we go down the list, Mani?
Yes.
After Lakshay, who else?
Mansi.
Mansi,
Good morning,
unmute
sir.
and switch on your videos also.
Where are you?
Good morning, sir.
Good to see you, Mansi.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Can you see me?
Yes, hi, Mansi. Please go ahead. We can see you.
Where are
We
you?
can hear you.
Yeah, there are a couple of Mansis here.
Yeah, I guess there is a problem here.
Yes.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Mansi, and I'm in Bangalore right now. And
Okay.
yeah, this is my hometown. So I'm here.
So what are
Okay.
your expectations from this program?
I guess to push myself out of my comfort zone, to get to know people, who I haven't been around my entire life. I've been in Bangalore my entire life, so I'm really excited to leave and see new places and interact with new kinds of people and learn, just learn in a different place, I guess.
Very
And
good.
yeah.
Yeah. I must compliment your parents or your family, because in a number of cases, young people like you do want to do exactly this, get away from their usual environments and be a little adventurous and go somewhere else. And now because of COVID-19, families want to hold together and grasp their wards and not let them go any distance. That's one of the unfortunate consequences of this, the paranoia created by this pandemic. But I hope that will, so I have to say that, I really, it takes a little bit of guts and courage in this context,
Yeah.
a number of students who've got, our BA students who've got admission to go abroad are sort of deferring their admission.
Yeah.
Well, that's because, we, in a way, most universities abroad have declared that they'll teach the entire semester online, or Oxford and Cambridge, Cambridge says that the entire year is going to be online. Now, that's not quite what a university experience is all about. So we want you as soon as possible on the campus, because there's really no substitute for face-to-face interactions, to learn from students, to meet others, and so on. So let's hope that you'll be able to do that.
Yeah,
Okay?
so definitely, yes.
Thanks.
Okay.
What about the other Manasi? Manasi, you can come back.
Mansi Jep
All right.
and this is Mansi Agrawal.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Good morning, faculty.
Yeah, good morning.
I am Mansi, and
No, where are
I'm
you?
from Meerut.
Hold on, Mansi.
Yes,
That's
sir.
nearby.
Yes, sir.
Right. And where did you study your undergraduate?
Sir, from Chandigarh, MCMDAP College.
Oh, okay. So you were in a hostel at that time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you are now, you've already, sort of left the nest and been on your own. And so that's all right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So why do you pick up M.A. Economics? We didn't think of M.A. Public Policy, M.A. in International Relations.
Sir, because I have interest in economics since the beginning. So that's why I chose commerce, then BA Economics Honors, and now I want to delve deeper into the subject more. So that's why I chose MA in economics.
Well, you did the right thing, and you're coming to the right place, if you ask me. Okay. Right. Who's next? Mani?
Fani Datta.
Oh, yes. But he asked us a question. We already
Yes.
had a word
Then
with
we
him.
can move to Pranavi Singh.
Who?
Pranavi Singh.
Good morning.
Pranavi Singh.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Uh,
Pranavi, where are you?
So I'm staying in Delhi with my parents, and I completed my bachelor's program from NMIMS Mumbai.
Ah. Right. So you ventured from Delhi to Mumbai, and you're returning to this part of the country.
You can say that, but this is the first time my parents are staying in Delhi. So
Ah,
my father is he was a army officer. So that time he was posted in Nasik.
oh, okay. All right. That sort of explains.
So
Normally,
what are
there's
you
not much
expecting
traffic.
from this program?
So I look forward to learn more about environmental economics. Uh, I did a small research on the cosmetic industry and in sustainable cosmetics. So I look forward to delve into more into it.
Right.
Very good. So, well, you're welcome to send what you wrote.
Yes, sir.
To send it to Money, and we'll pass it on to some of the faculty who would be interested, give you reactions to what you've written. It's a very good habit to start writing, papers. So good. Okay, who's next, Money?
Thank you, Sarthak Singh.
He's one of us. He did his BA honors with us. Sarthak.
Ah.
He's Sarthak.
Sarthak, unmute.
Oh, this is Sarthak Singh, not Sarthak Uziwal. Okay.
Good morning, faculty. So I'm from Delhi. I live in Delhi, and I did my BSc Economics from Narsi Monji Institute of Management Studies, Bangalore. So,
Okay.
So I'm really looking forward to joining the course, because it's interrelated with the School of Public Policy, and my major interest in economics also is in the theories of growth and development. The theories interest me a lot, so that's why I'm looking forward to it.
Very good. Okay, so you're in
Thanks,
Delhi,
Sarthak.
so you don't have to travel. Yeah. Okay. Right. Then who
Shubham.
else next?
Shubham Toki.
Shubham.
Shubham, unmute yourself and switch on your video.
Shubham, unmute yourself.
Is he there? We can take next timing if he's not there. Simran.
Hello,
Switch on
sir.
your video as well.
Where
Simran.
are you?
I'm
Simran?
trying to
Switch
switch
on your
on.
video.
Can we see you?
Can you see me, sir? I'm trying to switch on my camera.
Yeah, it takes a minute or so.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes.
Yes, we can see you now. Yes.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Hi.
So it's good afternoon now. You're just coming up to me. Where are you?
So I'm based in Noida right now. So I've been here.
And where did you study your undergrad?
I did it from Delhi University, from Jesus and Mary College.
I see. Did you have Naveen Thomas teach you?
Yes, sir, he did.
Naveen Thomas will be joining us.
Oh, really?
And will teach you again. Yes.
Yes, sir, he taught me in my second year.
Right. So he's going to join us. So we are adding to our faculty, and so we have a very good faculty student ratio, so that we could give all of you a fair amount of individual attention. It's a good thing that it's not a huge class, so sometimes I do wonder the capacity of teachers. When I studied in Delhi School of Economics, we had 102 students in the class, but I must say the teachers somehow, all connected to all of them. That's quite a feat. And I'm still in touch with many of my teachers in the Delhi school even today. And it's really remarkable. But so it's of course easier. It's more like having an Oxbridge style tutorial kind of education if you have a number of faculty and a small class. So we'd welcome you to that.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you,
Okay,
Simran.
Anyone
Tanya
left?
Agarwal. Tanya Agarwal. Tanya, unmute and show us your face. She is not there.
Okay.
Shubham, will you like to add something? The last student we have, it is an unknown user, so I don't have his
No,
name.
Am I
Shubham
audible?
is coming online. Wait,
Shubham,
Shubham is
come
coming
on.
on.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes,
Yeah,
you
you
are,
are
but we
audible.
don't see you.
Good,
Right,
Yes,
good
now
now
we
we
afternoon,
can.
can.
sir. Good afternoon, sir. I'm Shubham Toke. I'm from Indore.
Carry on, carry on.
So
Tell
right
us
now
a little bit about
I am in a
your.
containment zone, so it is really difficult here in Indore.
Indore. Oh, okay. Right.
He has studied from the Bhopal School of Economics, if I am right. Isn't that so, Shubham?
Yes, sir. Bhopal School of Social
Social
Sciences.
science. Bhopal
Social
School of
science,
Social
not
Science.
economics. Sorry. And so, what are your expectations from Jindal?
Sir, I was particularly intrigued by that game theory, and I had a basic. I read about it in my BA program. Little bit I learned about it. Now I want to know more about application part of it and how it works in real life rather than bookish examples.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Okay.
you'll have
Now,
ample
BA Economics,
opportunities.
we teach in, we taught game theory in the very first semester in BA. In a way, game theory by and large is displaced conventional microeconomics. So it's good that you're interested in game theory. It has immense applications, and I encourage those who study economics to have a broader range. So you could go into international relations, deal with conflict situations, apply game theory to climate change problems,
Yes, sir.
apply game theory to resolving the border dispute between India and China. It's got many applications. So
Thank you,
very
sir.
good. So Indore, your home is in Indore. It's a place I've always wanted to visit because there was a wonderful scholar called Patrick Geddes, who was invited by the ruler of Indore
Okay.
to think about town planning and designing the city. And so ever since I read Patrick Geddes, I've been keen on visiting Indore at some point. So,
Yes, sir. You should visit Indore.
all right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shubham.
There is another student here in the group from Bhopal School of Social Sciences, Amulya Verma. I don't know. She is here, but I can't see her.
Oh,
She
okay.
is unmuting herself.
She also belongs to the same school.
Good afternoon,
Amulya,
sir.
is there?
Good afternoon.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
please switch on your video and audio both.
I did. Sir, am I visible?
No.
It
Yes.
takes a minute.
You're
Yes, now you
visible.
are.
Yes.
Now you
Okay.
are. Please
Good
introduce
afternoon.
yourself.
Sir, my name is Amulya Verma. I'm from Bhopal, and even I studied in the Bhopal School of Social Sciences. Shubham and I are classmates, actually.
Oh, good. Okay.
So, did you jointly decide to apply for our program?
Actually, I applied before, and my
Okay.
entrance exam was in June. He appeared in July.
I'm glad that the lady took the lead.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so you've lived all your life in Bhopal. You've not.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
No, I've never
all
left
right.
Bhopal.
Good. Okay.
Very
So,
first time you are stepping out.
Yes,
First,
sir. Right.
all the best. Good luck.
Thank
yeah,
you.
so we want you as sooner as possible. So it'll happen. Don't worry. This will pass. This pandemic business. All
Definitely.
right. Good. So we've run out of time. Mani, Hemant, shall we say
Right.
goodbye to this lovely group of students?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so
Join.
much.
Thank you for joining. And students,
Thank
please log in again at 12:30 to join Professor Sandeep Dikshit. He is going to.
Yes. Oh, let me give you a little. Sandeep Dikshit has joined us. He's been teaching for the last few years, and we call him a professor of practice. because as you know, and Sandeep, of course, has a lot to do with Bhopal. I don't know if he's visited, he must have visited the Bhopal School of Social Science, but Sandeep and I worked together in the early 90s on the Madhya Pradesh Human Development Report. So my visits to Bhopal were at that time, 94, 95. I think the report was published in 96. And Sandeep was the lead author of that report on human development in Madhya Pradesh. And actually, it is the first human development report outside the global report, which UNDP published. So it was the first subnational human development report. And it was interesting. And so it led to a big industry in this country. The Planning Commission set up a unit, and we had many states, in fact, all states in India have produced human development reports. And of course, Sandeep's, in a way, his roots are in Bhopal, and he's also represented the constituency of East Delhi for 2 terms in Parliament. And so you'll enjoy talking to him. So we asked him to sort of say, well, you know, what do people in public life like you, why do you bother about economists? What use do you have for them? Let's have Sandeep deal with those questions. Over. Thank you.
So please log in again at 12:30.
Thank you, students.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Rajiv, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Rajiv, for joining.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
See you again at 12:30. Bye.
Thank you, sir.